afternoon, greater Philadelphia area. This is Toole Time Real Estate Radio on WWDB 860 AM. I'm Tom Toole. She's Sarah Tymon. We both work at the Tom Toole Sales Group at RoofMax Mainline, the #1 RoofMax team in Pennsylvania since 2018. And we're going to be covering a whole bunch of real estate topics today. The first question is, are we dealing with mixed signals in the peak home buying season? We've seen rates come down a little bit. What does that mean as we head into the middle of the month here, the middle of May, and really the middle of Q2 is really today. We also are going to cover the war of words between CoStar and Realtor.com. CEO Damian Eales, very interesting stuff there. And we have RoofMax coming on as well, which is a very interesting product if you're having roofing problems or insurance issues like we've talked about. So there's a whole lot to cover. If you get some value out of this, you'll like what you hear, make sure to subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications, and if you want to schedule a call with our team and Sarah specifically about your real estate needs, you can use the link in the comments. So interesting week here in real estate. We saw rates dip down a little bit. I think a lot of people are wondering if they're going to fall. I think that's a legitimate question, seeing what the 10-year yield did. But probably the bigger question, Sarah, and I want to hear what you're seeing in the field, because I know you're putting some people under contract. You've got some buyers that have been kind of on the fence, jumping into properties now, which is always a good thing. We're seeing home sales run slightly ahead of last year's pace, but these 7-ish, and again, I say ish because we're down into like 6.875% today, mortgage rates are causing people to sit on the sidelines. So do you feel like there's mixed signals in the housing market right now?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like to some degree there are some mixed signals. I feel like in almost any situation, there's like some degree of mixed signals going on. But, I would say related to the interest rates, I think because they have been coming down a little bit, I don't think that's created a mixed signal. I think, it's great to see them coming in below 7, but I don't see much change probably happening beyond that.
So I think of one client in particular you're working with right now, and you had met them a while ago.
Mm-hmm.
How long ago was it that you first met them? What was do you recall?
If we're thinking of the same one, probably like a year ago.
Okay, so 12. This is who we're talking about, right? So 12 months ago, where rates were kind of the same 12 months ago, they weren't that different. What had changed for those folks to jump into the market? Like, was it the stability? Did they tell you? Did they just call you and say, "Let's look at a house," and you didn't question it? I mean,
wait,
tell
is
us
this
more.
somebody who I've gotten under contract?
Yeah, but you just put them under contract.
Yes. So this was a situation where we really did not go out and look at too many homes.
Okay.
Like there would be sometimes questions about properties that came up. I would say in the last few months, like all of a sudden we started, and it wasn't a ton, but we did start going and looking at, a handful of properties where earlier in the year and last year it was occasionally like, hey, can I get the disclosure on this one, interested in finding out more on this one, but then kind of writing it off before we even went out to take a look at it. So I think that was maybe more of a motivation change.
Okay.
Where like wanting to like, all right, I think I'm ready to do this now.
Yeah, I'm clear that's kind of what's going on, is that there's only so much time you can wait to try to time the market, whether it's you're waiting for rates to come down or inventory to come up. When we have seen some movement there, again, rates are at like 6.875 today. Inventory's up a little under 7% in Pennsylvania from this past April to the current the April of 2023. And if you look at what's going on nationally, so we saw about 8,700 new homes come to the market last week. And it was also Mother's Day weekend, which I don't think can be underestimated, because a lot of people just aren't going to want to launch their home on a weekend like that.
Right.
So I'm clear we're going to actually surpass the highest levels of inventory that we saw in 2023. The peak number was 569,898 homes. As of May 11th, we saw 568,000 and change. So that should increase there as things happen. And the market is starting to maybe slowly go the other way. I mean, it's still very, seller friendly in many aspects. And now that rates have just eased a little bit, that 6 handle tends to mentally do a lot for people. So, when you look at some of this data here, there's 35% more homes on the market than a year ago, and that gap has continued to expand. Altos Research is expecting 700,000 unsold homes on the market by the end of September, which is a big difference from what we saw last year. and we're seeing new homes continually hit the market. So you mentioned motivation. That to me is the only reason to be working with someone right now if you're a real estate agent, and it's also the only reason to really buy something. It's not this, hey, we got these ultra low rates, we gotta buy a house. Like
Right.
that person's just gone. So as the market continues to be a little confusing, I find it's going to be more important than ever to actually have someone that can guide you through this process.
Right, and I think that when you are getting all of these different mixed signals, it can be easy to forget that if you do find a home that you are excited about, that you want to move forward with, that going through all of the different like checks and balances for, you know, are there multiple offers on this property, and what can we do to strengthen our offer? And even with mixed signals, like if you want to go out and get this home, these are this is the best way that you're going to be most likely to be able to get it. And in some situations, even if you do all of those things, you can get outbid.
Well, I was talking to an agent on our team last night, and it's all you can do is present the facts and give options, and that's really what a great agent does. They don't sell you on anything. They don't force you to do something, but they get as much information as possible. So if you know what you're walking into, one of the trainings we just did was even forget the offer situation. Imagine just how you greet people at the home now. Before it was like, hey, we got 15 minutes, let's get in and out. Now it's, hey, this home's been on the market X amount of days. Here's the price. Here's some of the sales data in the local community here, and here's the other listings we're going to be looking at today, and here's the printed itinerary. That amount of prep work goes a long way, and that's going to help people get a better feel for what they're walking into instead of them asking you all the questions. Like I feel like you don't want to be getting interrogated. You want to present it and almost answer the questions before they even come up.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm also a big fan of, particularly with people that you've shown some homes to before, so that they kind of know how you roll through and do things, getting them to the disclosure in advance. And then I like to have a printed sheet with me that has the, from the MLS, that has all of like the basic breakdowns and facts on it. And then on the back of that, I go through the disclosure, and it's always in the exact same order. I'm going down, like, is it currently occupied? Is it by the seller, or were they the landlord? When was the roof? What is, like, you go down in like a certain order, and there's certain things you want to be able to pull out and mention. And having that prep work done in advance makes everything go a lot smoother.
So you talk about this prep work, and we went through this last week at our office, and this is the stuff that people really want to know. And there's really 18 things that should be happening, which sounds like a lot, but between the time you actually like set an appointment and you go meet them. So Sarah's talking about stuff like writing down notes, right? Having the printed itinerary. When you walk into the home, turn the lights on. Point out pluses and minuses, right? Like if the home's on a busy road and you just kind of ignore it, it looks like you're trying to like fool them about something. So with all this confusion in the market, the more data you can give, how long it's been on the market, the price, the sales data, asking them what they think at the end, it's going to help the consumer, and it's going to help the agents actually appropriately navigate these confusing market conditions. And I'm clear it's going to take longer to get buyers under contract because they have more options now. And it's not a bad thing. And maybe you're not showing them a lot of homes, but you said that like these folks you talked about that you put under contract, well, they're looking a lot online and being very selective with what they choose. So what's like how do they vet properties out? Because that's another thing that you need to coach buyers on, or you're showing 20, 30 properties in some instances.
Square footage was pretty important. This was an interesting one because it's, they're not looking for a ton of square footage. The layout was also important because it was one where they were going to want to be able to, like, this is not a first time home buyer. This is somebody that's like kind of approaching retirement age and wants to be able to be in this home for another, 20 years or so. So having like the right layout, I think, like bedroom on the first floor, staying within a certain radius was important, and taxes, things like that.
Well, and buyers tend to know what they want, and I think there's a difference of, hey, let's go look at and see some properties and get a feel for it, to just showing them everything, because do you find that frustrates people when they see a lot of homes they don't like and they get to a certain number?
Yes. I think Initially, if they don't know what they're looking for, showing a couple of different types of homes can be important, because sometimes once you get out there, then you get more of a feel for it. So, if it's, because you'll work with some people that are like, I could go single family, I could go townhouse, I could go condo. So like, all right, let's take a look at each of them. And then from there, kind of narrowing it down a little bit further. And then I always want to, if somebody has interest in a property, I always want to give them the opportunity to get out there and see it. But if it is one that has some of the same cons, I guess, to it, if as you're doing like positives and negatives, so if it has some of the same negatives, maybe pointing those out in advance so that everybody's not wasting their time going out and seeing a property where it's like, well, this is like the one we looked at last week, and these are the reasons why you didn't want to move forward with anything. Happy to take you, but just so, because it can get easy too, I feel like when you're flipping through, once you've looked at a certain number of homes, to just be like, all right, and let's do this one and this one and this one, and like, you still want to be a little bit selective.
Well, and you want to be selective for a couple reasons. One, if you're not being selective as the agent, it shows you're not listening to these people, which is one of the biggest concerns about agents. Secondly, most agents don't want to show houses people aren't going to buy. Like that's it. Do you have do you get any enjoyment out of, hey Sarah, we're not going to like this one, but let's look around anyway for 20 minutes?
No.
No, and that happens a lot though,
Yeah.
and I think that's why you've got to set the expectation up front. I was talking with Keith from our team today, and he's been consistently putting 2 homes under contract every single month, and he said, I meet him in the office, I tell him what to expect. And in a confusing market, when you know what to expect, it makes life a heck of a lot easier for a consumer, especially if it's the first time they're going through it. So what do you do at the beginning? You meet someone for the first time, what's kind of your game plan?
So at the very, initially you want to go through the initial consult, whether that be in person, on the phone, or in the office, where you're just kind of breaking down some of the important details specific to their search, including timelines, price points, monthly payments, and school district, like all the things that you need to figure out to be able to like best help them. Then usually giving some case studies on how different offers have gone in the past. And sometimes I find it helpful too to even prep them with, depending on how many offers you're going to be competing against. Generally, like let's say you've got 10 offers, you're probably going to have 3 or 4 that are either below the list price, depending on when it hit the market, below the list price or right at the list price. You've got all of your inspections, you're putting a little bit down, you're doing everything you can to protect yourself. Then you're going to have another pocket full of offers there that are going to be more competitive. And then you're going to have the winning offer that is probably the most competitive. And that oftentimes as you move through this process, you start on one end, and as you proceed through, you ultimately end up with the winning offer. How many homes it took you to get there is kind of up to how much you want to listen and how much coaching you want to do, and like where your comfort level is. So just kind of prepping them that like there's a good chance that you may not get your first home if you find the one that is like, I must be in this home, then let's go through the list of these are all the things that you can do to strengthen. And then it's up to them to decide if they want to do it or not. But these would probably generate your winning offer.
Well, and the reason that's really critical, which I totally agree with, is that a lot of agents don't take the time to explain this stuff to people. They just say, oh, you like it, let's make an offer. And they try to compete on price, which is a faulty strategy, because there's other things besides price that will win an offer. So this is all the more reason to help, buyers without these like confusing signals that are out there. Because when you see rates dancing around and all this other stuff, people got enough concerns. They don't need concerns coming from their agent. So I think that's really important, very critical. So I want to chat about rates here a little bit. I want to get a prediction here from you, Sarah, if you got your crystal ball handy. So Logan Modeshami puts out his weekly housing market tracker, and we've seen that the bond market's fallen a little bit, mortgage rates have fallen, and the spread. So this is, just bear with me here. The spread between the 10-year yield and the 30-year mortgage rate has improved compared to last year. So historically, there's a spread of what the percentage is on the 10-year versus where rates are coming in, and it was historically traditionally it's 1.6 to 1.8%. So usually you see about a 1.5 to 2 point bump on where the 10-year comes in versus where rates are. So if the 10 years at 3, mortgage rates would be like 5.75, right? Right now the difference is 2.6%, so it's a bit higher, but the worst levels last year were 3.1. So there's been a 0.5% decrease in the spread. And what that tells me is the market is starting to normalize after all the rate cutting that happened, what the federal government did and the Federal Reserve did after the COVID-19 pandemic. So my hope is we're going to see that kind of settle down a little more, and it's where I think these rate predictions are going to be maybe in the mid sixes by the end of the year, which I know we've talked about on the show here. So do you think that plays out that way? Because we saw them jump up, they've been back down. I mean, what's your crystal ball tell you here, Sarah?
Yeah, I think we're going to be mid sixes. That's kind of where I've predicted them to be throughout this year. And we're
going to start writing this stuff down. So
right,
we'll
and they did. I thought there would be some dancing around. There certainly has been. But I think ultimately we're going to be mid sixes for, at the end of the year.
I tend to agree, and what happens here when you see rates drop, and I've seen this you got to take like the last 4 years out of it, but typically they'll run hot, and then like June comes around, and they start to drop a little bit. Mm-hmm. And I'm clear that's kind of what we're seeing right now. And also too, you have to look at what the Fed said. Like I think a lot of people were concerned about a rate hike at the last Fed meeting, which didn't happen. So we could see rates come down a little bit, and that would be a good thing for the market, provided that inventory still increases like it has been. Because that to me is the better driver here. I'm very pro inventory because if you don't have options, it doesn't matter how low rates go, and it can be problematic. So if you look at national single family home inventory, we are 35% higher than where we were last year nationally. We know that the Northeast is lagging behind parts of like Florida, or all of Florida really, Georgia, Texas, Arizona, the Carolinas, where they've seen 65% increase in inventory in Florida, and then 30s in the southern states. But it always comes north at the end. So my hope is this continues so that we can be in a more normal market. And what a normal market means is the best homes are still going to sell quickly. Mm-hmm. There's going to be some homes that sit on the market if they're not priced properly, or they don't show well, or not being marketed correctly. And there's going to be competitive offers, and there's going to be non-competitive offers. It's not going to be one way or the other. It's all going to be based on how the property fits into the market, which would help a lot of consumers just navigate things a little more appropriately. Mm-hmm. Because I like seeing those. If I'm a buyer's agent, I like seeing those homes that have been on the market. I would used to say like 30 or 60 days. Now it's like 2 weeks, right? But 2 weeks, it's like, wow, there might be an opportunity here. And most agents don't coach their clients to make those lower offers. You've done that a lot and had a lot of great success. So what? Well,
and it's at that point, it's what's great about that like 2 week time frame is this is the time to get in and potentially put in maybe like an under where it's lit, like under the list price offer prior to them doing a price adjustment. Mm-hmm. Because once a price adjustment goes in, depending on how much and what like threshold that crosses, you could be bringing in a whole new group of buyers that are now seeing this for the first time because they had filtered that out by like the price point before. And it's not uncommon to see a price adjustment happen, and then all of a sudden offers come in and it actually sells above where it had like prior to the reduction. So the sweet spot is getting in right before they do that.
And this is where who you work with really matters, because if you had that initial meeting, like Sarah's talking about, you've gotten some coaching on, hey, here's the flags to look for in the market. To me, the flag is like once you get north of 10 days, like which is insane to say, but that's the mark. And technology has made things move a lot faster. You see that happen. You know there's nothing wrong with the house because you went and looked at it. Yeah. This is all the more reason to go look at these homes, get someone that can guide you and help you navigate all this, because these mixed signals can be tough, because some agents are going to tell you, oh, you got to waive everything and go above the asking price. Well, on some homes you do, but that's not all homes. There's no absolute rule here. And if rates do come down a little bit more, like let's say we get to the mid sixes, you're going to see a little more demand pick up. Hopefully the inventory increases as it has been, because that's been something that's really driven the market this year. And we get into a spot where you've got to have some real guidance, and that's what's really going to matter. So that's how to navigate what I see as like the mixed signals that are here. Is just get as much information as you can, get someone that can actually guide you and knows what they're talking about, because there are a lot of mixed signals. You see prices going up, but inventory's rising, rates are coming down. It's not one way right now, and this is what happens in a shifting market. So we're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back. We're going to talk about I actually did this interview with the CEO of Realtor.com on Friday, and Damian Eales held no punches in what he's talking about with CoStar and their marketing plan and everything they've been doing during the Super Bowl. We'll break that down next on Toole Time Real Estate Radio on WWDB 860 AM.
Service and great rates on your money.
Was it really
Look no
ridiculous?
further
No, just like
than
you were
Mortgage
talking
America. We've been operating in the greater Philadelphia area for 40 years with a focus on smooth, easy access to
I wouldn't do that to you,
homeowners.
Sarah.
Whether you're a first-time buyer, upsizing or downsizing, or just refinancing, we have programs for you. We also have closing cost assistance programs and access to subsidized interest rates. Pre-approval is free, no costs or commitments. To learn more, visit our website at mymortgageamerica.com.
So I can just tell you what he
or give
said
us a
during
call
this.
at
Okay.
610
He basically said, like, they're, like, making up traffic.
We always have a
Really?
person
They came in and, like,
available to
pitched this
take your
on this,
call
and I'm
with
like,
around the
they're
clock
like, we have
human
impressions.
service.
I'm like, what's the
Purchase
data
your
on
home
the actual
with
leads? I'm like, yeah,
personalized
we don't really have it.
local
I'm like,
service you
let's
find
see
at
later.
Mortgage America.
Mortgage America's equal housing lender, MLS 128-501.
I'm Tom Toole of the Tom Toole Sales Group at RoofMax Main Line. If you're thinking of becoming a real estate agent in the greater Philly area, I have a special offer for you. Our team did $165 million of volume in 2021, making us the #1 RE/MAX team in Pennsylvania and a top 1% team nationally. Our agents love us because we offer them a successful career, a great life, and an unbeatable culture. Agents who've been with us for at least a year average 30 plus sales. Even our brand new agents average 17 to 24 sales a year. We offer proven systems and expert training. We help you set more appointments and sell more houses. Now here's the offer. If you don't have a real estate license yet, we offer real estate scholarships so you can get one for free. Check it out at realestateScholarshipProgram.com or visit the Tom Toole Sales Group at RE/MAX Main Line at TomToole.com. That's TomToole.com. Get more out of your real estate career, and remember the real estate golden rule. You always get more when you work with Tom Toole.
When you're getting a mortgage, you shouldn't have to sacrifice great service just to get a great rate.
This,
At Mortgage America, we've been living with this philosophy for
This
over
here's
35 years. We have access to great low rates without the complications and delays of big or
Yeah, I
online
wasn't sure if you
banks.
were
We're a
talking
local
about,
Pennsylvania lender with loan
the one
officers
that got
you
under
can
contract,
actually meet.
or-
As PHFA's #1 lender, we specialize in
Going
all
on?
residential
This is Sarah.
mortgages.
Hi, I'm Dave.
First-time buyers
Nice to meet you.
and low down payment
Good.
options. For your
So we got one more segment where we're gonna talk about some real estate stuff, and then it's all you.
8,000 or apply online at mymortgageamerica.com.
Have you considered a career in real estate? Do you want for your income? Whether you have a license or not, call us today at 610-692-6976 or visit TomToole.com. Our team, the Tom Toole Sales Group at RE/MAX Main Line.
Welcome back to Toole Time Real Estate Radio on WWDB 860 AM. I'm Tom Toole. She's Sarah Tymon. We both work at the Tom Toole Sales Group at RE/MAX Main Line, the #1 RE/MAX team in Pennsylvania since 2018. And we are talking about CoStar and Realtor.com next year. And then we've got an incredible product, RoofMax. Dave is here from RoofMax. He's going to feel free to chime in on all this real estate stuff here. And we're going to break down how this product could help you with your insurance challenges, with elongating the life of your roof. That'll be on our last segment here. And Dave, where should people go to check out your product? What's the best place?
RoofMax.com.
RoofMax.com with 2 X's, RoofMax.com. So we'll get to that here in a second. But first, we had our Knowledge Brokers podcast that I do every week, Sarah. We had Damian Eales on, the CEO of Realtor.com, last week. I never met the guy. They've had some leadership changes, and I give him credit. So he gets on here, didn't screen any questions,
Nice.
which sometimes it doesn't go that way.
Sure.
His PR person asked us, and we're like, yeah, we're not doing that, and he said, fine, I'm on, which was great. But what he talked about, and this has been all over the place here, is the issue that he has with CoStar, and we talked about like an op-ed piece that he wrote and everything else. But he's got a real problem with CoStar and their marketing plan. So, and it's CoStar owns Homes.com. That's really what we're talking about here. So Homes.com, they showcase their monthly unique visitors, stating they have double Realtor.com's traffic at 156 million visitors. And to be very transparent, we work with Realtor.com. We do business with them. We do not do business with Homes.com. But Damian Eales went on to say that they are pulling data from 17 different websites to reach that number. And they don't use the same reporting mechanism, meaning they use Google Analytics. The industry standard is something called ComScore. This is like way over my pay grade. I don't know about you. And the websites that they use, they include like apartments.com. Well, that's, to me, is totally different than realtor.com. And it's like in this fine print, if you look at the ad here, like you can see it right at the bottom. Like I had to blow it up to see what it said when we were doing this interview. And, what he goes on to say is they're just not being transparent and that they're misdirecting traffic. And he's got a real problem with it. I mean, we spent a lot of time on this. So what do you think about this as an outsider who, like, I know you get these leads, we work and we do all those things, but you're not involved in like the acquisition side or anything else.
Right.
When you see that, like, what's your reaction versus what he's telling you?
I mean, it kind of seems like it's like so many things where if you don't actually look into how somebody pulled their numbers for something or how they're getting their ratings or whatever, people can skew things to make them sound however they want them to. So,
sure.
They can pull in all of these other sources to then say, oh, we're the most searched site or yada yada, or they can not include other data that negatively would impact different numbers. And I mean, I'm not surprised. I feel like they're gonna say whatever to make themselves stand out.
You're not talking about fake news now.
Oh my
Come
gosh,
on.
no.
Stop it.
Well,
no.
So I would argue that it's probably not fake, but it's also not like apples to apples. And
Right.
I don't know if you ever dealt with this, Dave. I know I have, where you're interviewing for a listing, right? Or you're talking, or you see, I've seen people that have done this on stage at real estate conferences where they're just making up numbers and constantly inflating things. And I've had that conversation happen with like people I'm meeting with. They're like, oh, this agent said they sold all these houses. And I said, well, I don't know what you're looking at, but here's the MLS.
Mm-hmm.
Are you really going to trust this person? And that's a bold statement to make because you can't walk that back.
Right.
And it's either going to go one of two ways. One is, okay, you're right, we're going to hire you, which is what I would hope happens.
Yeah.
The other is you create a lot of distrust there and people are going to take that the wrong way, even though they're being lied to in the first place. And
Right.
it's a really frustrating thing, especially when you've got these, multi-million-dollar companies, and they're talking about a lot of money that's involved here. There should be an industry standard. I think that's always been the challenge, and I know a lot of real estate agents didn't like that when it became public that you could pull everyone's production on the MLS. So I get what he's saying here, and then this was like all over the news. So I mean, at least the real estate news. So. In the spokesperson clarified that he was talking about ads across real estate news sites. This went on and on. This got picked up by Housing Wire and some other people. So I thought, and it's been everywhere. So I find this really interesting, especially in this like era of like Zillow and Homes.com and not all these companies are going to survive. One of them is not going to make it.
Right. Yeah, and I mean, I feel like it for them affects them a lot more because, how this is being, how the metrics come into play and who's being shown as number one and yada, yada, yada is going to obviously matter very much to their business versus for me, I'm not on that end of it. So I don't really care, which might not be the right answer, but.
Right. So, I mean, and that's where it's interesting being on a team, right? Because I think I would care because Homes.com made a very heavy pitch, right? They got their billion, they got a ton of money, right?
Yeah.
They spent all that money on Super Bowl commercials. They're selling impressions. That's what they're talking about.
I do love Dan Levy.
Okay, well, and he actually did the Zillow Saturday Night Live.
Yeah,
that's why they got him. Yeah, that was exactly why. So they're selling impressions. Realtor.com, they tell you they're going to sell you leads, which is a very different thing. So, in my view, I mean, I would rate the Realtor.com lead as a very solid lead. Homes.com, it's kind of hit or miss,
right.
And the challenge with that is I think there's people that are going to buy things because it sounds great, but it might not be what they've bargained for. And that would concern me when there's this kind of money involved.
Well, no, that would be, if it came down to me, like, purchasing or, like, buying into the lead source there, which then I think I would care a lot more and I would look into those numbers and,
Well, and I you know, that's the difference between being on a team versus like running a team. That's part of it, and I think you know, it's they couldn't give me the data in the pitch
Right.
meeting. Like that was I'm like, hey, what kind of data you got? We don't have any. Okay, great. So
Well, do you know what's funny? I feel like there's a lot of companies out there that are like that because I mean, I get calls all the time for we're looking for an agent like you in your area to deliver leads to and blah blah blah. And oh, it's just they always want you to then get on a call with like their person. They never can give you any of the flat facts off the bat. And then like, oh, for just like $4,000 one time, don't you care about like aren't you worth it? And I'm just like, well, give me the numbers like of these leads, how many of them close, how long does it take to get them, like I want the metrics, and they can't answer it. And it's like, well, if you can't tell me that, why would I give you that much money? Like, no.
yeah, and I think that's the challenge here. Is there's so many ways to buy leads in real estate. I mean, you can get a ton of like, I mean, you could do Facebook leads like 5 cents a piece, but they don't convert that well, right? Like, so I mean,
I'd rather door knock.
well, and that's the sweat equity thing. Number one, it's more predictable, and you're getting in front of somebody, which is I know one of your strong suits. So, you know, this is going to be pretty interesting because as soon as he talked about this on Knowledge Brokers, I saw it on Housing Wire, I saw it in a lot of other places, and he's not laying off of this. I think it's really interesting. And they even talk about like their internal traffic tracking, and that they use Adobe Analytics instead of Google Analytics. So it's you know according to the independent sources, Homes.com is number 4 in traffic, which I find pretty interesting. And he wants them to use ComScore here pretty aggressive. So how do you go from
But
like 2 to 4?
Are they number 1 at being number 4?
Yes, right.
Maybe they put that in the small print.
Maybe, who knows?
We're the best at being 4th.
But they claim that from the ComScore data in March 2024, Zillow had 112 million unique visitors, Realtor.com had 54 million, Redfin had 41, and Homes.com had 39 million. So that's a big drop off from their 156 million that they're talking about a month. So it's you know they're a lot lower than what's reported, which is frustrating because I know they're going in and pitching agents, and I don't think a lot of agents think like I do, but they're like, oh, this sounds great. I saw the Super Bowl commercials, I'm in.
Yeah. I'm always very skeptical of any of the things that come in. Like, you know, when you just like get the calls for do this lead source, use this as a pillar, blah, like I'm always skeptical.
Well, as a contractor, I can tell you that there's different ones like Angie's List and other ones like that. They want to sell multiple contractors the same lead.
Mm-hmm.
And who knows that they're not doing the same thing with real estate agents with, with the lead as well. So now you're automatically in competition, and most people are going to compete on price.
Right.
That's probably all they got. They're not Tom Toole with a whole toolbox of tools. They only got one thing.
There's a lot of tools in one sentence there. That's pretty good. So you bring up a good point because look at all these leads we're talking about, right? We're talking about all these unique monthly visitors, how many leads are going to come in. You know how many homes are going to sell this year? 4 to 5 million. So we constantly see people re-inbound all the time in our system where they were this kind of lead and they came in again. And to me, that's bad follow-up if they're re-inbounding. You're not doing your job, which is a whole nother story. But you're absolutely right. I mean, there's going to be way more leads than homes that actually transact. And that's why you got to know what you're getting into. I mean, people always think, you know, buying leads is the easy thing. To me, it's what do you do with the leads that you actually have? Like, how are you working them? And I mean, you know, Angie's List sounds like it's kind of the same thing. So, and Sarah, you probably, you're right. I get emails every day like, hey, you want some hot new leads in your area?
Yeah.
Or better yet, when they try to sell you seller leads, like they don't.
Right.
If someone was able to sell seller leads,
yeah,
let me tell you, that company would do really well. But it's impossible to do. It hasn't. The code has not been cracked yet, no matter what people say. And I get asked that a lot, and we know that 65% of sellers, they end up listing because of proximity. So it's more the relationship, or you like got them a house and then they want to work with you, or something like that. So very interesting story here. So who do you think's right? You're a total outsider on this. I mean, so who do you think's right here?
I don't know. I mean, I think it sounds as though Homes.com is making things up. So. You know, but I think that again, if this was more in the wheelhouse of something that like directly then came down and it was going to be my dollars on the line, my time potentially wasted on the line, I feel like it's stuff that I would dig further into on the surface of it. I'm not surprised. I expect and I might be a cynical. Is that what? Am I cynical? Like in that
I don't think you're cynical at all.
But when it comes to just like different numbers and presenting different things different ways, and I'm the best and blah blah blah. Like if you can't back it up, then it's kind of I know that you can manipulate numbers and manipulate things to make yourself appear better.
Well,
think so I kind of expect it.
Yeah, I do expect it because I mean I look at all the real estate companies that are out there. Half of them are number one.
Oh yeah.
We're number one at this. We're number one at that. We're number one in agents failing. Like that's what people should say. I mean, it's ridiculous. Yeah. Like it's everyone's number one. Do you run into this a lot too? Like
all the time.
We're the number one, brokerage with the name of it's located in this zip code. It's silly. And to me, when you deliver a solid product, which I'm a big believer in, because I mean we can, like we say at the beginning of the show, we're the number one REMAX team. That is documented and proven. It's all over the place. But there's other people that have said it too. Like I see it all the time, and it's just kind of silly to me. So
that's never something that I use as a hire me because I'm on this number one team. It's like hire me because, and then I say all the things I'll do.
That's one of the worst pitches. Hey, we're number one. I'd be like, I don't really care.
Well, there's a lot of like really funny memes out there for like real estate agents and stuff that are related to like agents that have sold had 2 transactions this year, posting pictures with their trophy that they had to pay for that says that they're number one and like whatever and and like it's true. I mean, I feel like you can come up with a way to make yourself be number one in some area and make a big deal out of it, or you could just go out and do a good job and
make money and help people. It's the Home Snap Awards. You know what I'm talking about, right? Like hey, I'm top 25% in my market. Well, guess what? 50% of the people didn't sell a house. So it's you're really like top 50% of the actual people that sold a house, which I mean it's funny you say that. And at the same time, I feel for Damian Eales here because it is frustrating when they have this $1 billion campaign going. I mean, these ads are on like Inman News, right? They're on Housing Wire. They're all over the place. And he's looking at him. He's like, this is BS, basically. Yeah. And he's got a company he's got to run. So I can understand his offensive here. And I don't have a problem with it because I know I've had to combat that at the listing appointment table. So I hope I'm pretty clear they're right, actually. I don't think Homes.com has the traffic they say they do. Yeah. All right, let's take a quick break. We're going to come back. We're going to talk with Dave from RoofMax, Dave Atarian from RoofMax. It's roofmax.com, RoofMaxx.com. We'll be right back on Tool Time Real Estate Radio on WWDB 860 AM.
Red tape when
All right, so we got roofmax.com. What do you want to? I'm just going to kick it to you. You can talk about like the product, like how you cover it.
Access to big bank money, but with personalized
just today, this insurance thing is a big deal. Just today, I had 2 customers that got the Instagram.
So we're going to get like probably like 15, 16 minutes. So I think one is like, what do you guys do? Who are you? Where to go? Talk about the insurance thing instead of like background. I think it's probably more important anyway. And then we can just kind of take it from there. You're going to be fine. You know how to talk.
The Tom Toole Sales Group is the #1 REMAX team in Pennsylvania with over $165 million
awesome.
in
We've
volume
actually
for
been there.
2021. I'm Tom Toole, and our team has achieved that kind of success by being a great place to work with and to work for. No one knows Greater Philly better than you do. You know real estate,
still
but
good.
more importantly,
It's a popular place, but
people. We hire the best agents and we give them all the tools to succeed.
I guess.
Even our brand new agents sell 17 to 24 homes a year because our team delivers the best experience in real estate. We deliver a better experience than individuals, and we're a top 1% real estate team in the country. We call it AAA service. We're your advocate, ally, and advisor.
I've never been a DJ.
Because this isn't a transaction to us. It's a relationship.
Great
If you're
job.
buying or selling a home, call the Tom Toole Sales Group line at 610-692-6976 or visit TomToole.com. That's Tom, Toole with an E.com. Sell your home for more, and remember the real estate golden rule. You always get more when you work with Tom Toole.
Yeah.
Have you considered a career in real estate?
Let me stream it. Let me get you a shot here.
Whether you have a license or not, call us today at 610.
We'll stream it, and then we'll get the video clips and all that stuff. So.
Visit TomToole.com. Join our team, the
I'll
Tom
get Dave in
Toole
here.
Sales
All right,
Group.
we'll get this chat here.
When you're getting a mortgage, you shouldn't have to sacrifice
You're good.
great
And then I'll-
service just to get a great
Sarah, can you
rate.
scoot
At
down a
Mortgage
little bit?
America, we've been lending with this philosophy for over 35 years. We have access to great low rates without the complications and delays of big or online banks. We're a local Pennsylvania swing lenders,
Do you mean to
loan
keep
officers
scooting?
that you can actually meet. As BHFA's number
I'll
one
just lean
lender,
in.
we specialize in all residential mortgage loans, including first-time buyer programs and low down payment options. For your free first consult, call
got my fat belly out.
610-439-8000 or apply online at mymortgage.
This is good. All right, this is perfect. All right. Welcome back to Tool Time Real Estate Radio on WWDB 860 AM. I'm Tom Toole. She's Sarah Tymon. We both work at the Tom Toole Sales Group at RoofMax Mainline, the #1 RoofMax team in Pennsylvania since 2018. And we are streaming live on YouTube here. And we've got RoofMax in the house. David Terry, and this is an incredible product that everyone should be paying attention to, in my view, because of the insurance climate right now. So if you like what you hear, you get some value out of this, make sure to hit subscribe on the channel, tap on the bell for notifications, and if you want to schedule a call with our team about all your real estate needs, Sarah specifically, you can do that with a link in the comments. So Dave, thanks for coming on. You can check out his company. It's RoofMax with 2x's.com. Tell us a little bit about the product. This is not like a roof, it's a roof replacement alternative, right?
That's right. It's actually a roof rejuvenator. So it's a soybean-based oil or bio oil that seeps into the asphalt shingles and makes them like new. Just like you see the cracks and potholes in the roads, same thing happens to the asphalt and the shingles. And our product seeps in and fills those gaps, makes it very flexible and pliable, makes them do their job. When shingles get old, they dry out, get brittle, they start flying off. They don't perform anymore. So this makes them like new. We call it the fountain of youth for your roof.
It's a good slogan.
Yeah.
It's really good. So you mentioned specifically the insurance climate. So what we've learned and talked about on the show here is that roofs are now this like hot button issue with insurance companies. Insurance companies are sending drones out to check out your roof. When you buy a home, they inspect the roof. This started happening a few years ago after a hailstorm we had out this way. So tell us about this. You called it the nastygram, but like insurance companies are flagging homes and they're requiring that there's some sort of roof work that gets done. Just explain how you can help people, because I don't think this is on a lot of folks' radar right now.
It's going to be, unfortunately. It's going to be. And the insurance companies overall, it's not just one. I initially thought Nationwide was the biggest offender, because that's who I was dealing with mainly for the last 3 months was Nationwide. This morning, just today, one was Travelers and one was State Farm. So it's getting spread around, and all of a sudden these people are going about their day and they get a nastygram in the mail saying repair or replace your roof due to a number of different reasons, but historically it's moss and algae that they really have this issue with.
Okay.
And unfortunately just last week, 2 brand new home buyers that just bought their home within the last 6 weeks, they get this cancellation letter. They wrote a big check of settlement. They don't have money to replace the roof.
Right.
Can you imagine how they feel getting this letter?
Yeah.
A brand new homeowner, young kid, 24, 25 years old. Oh no, what do I do?
Right.
And luckily we could help them, but they don't know what they don't know. And thankfully, RoofMax is around. It's a product that the insurance companies, once we get in there and we do the treatment, we take pictures, we show them, we give the receipt, and they've been taking it.
Yeah. Has there been any pushback or?
It's all up to the underwriter, but because we document everything, that's really the whole thing. And the unfortunate thing is once you're on their radar, sometimes you have to switch. But once you fix it, and you say you're on State Farm and you go to say Nationwide, for example. Well, now you can say at Nationwide, there's been a renovation in 2024. Because that's one of the questions they asked. When was the last time your roof was updated? Well, just so happens I did it last week. Yeah. So sometimes you have to switch, but switching isn't always because that's your knee-jerk reaction when you get that letter, right? Well, hell with State Farm, I'm gonna switch to Progressive. Right. The problem is Progressive's gonna send a guy out as well. Right. So the problem doesn't go away. It's kind of like a home inspection, Tom. That the seller never wants to make a repair. Oh, I'm gonna get another buyer. Well, the buyer's gonna get a home inspection too, and they're gonna find that same exact problem. Yeah. It doesn't go away. So
is the way to do it, you get this letter, you do the rejuvenation, and then you submit it back to the insurance company showing, hey, look, no, we're good? Or do you contact the insurance company first and say, would you accept this? This is what we want to do.
Well, it's kind of funny. The insurance company, they do, it's kind of like mortgages. They have underwriters, just like mortgage companies have underwriters. They have insurance underwriters. And it really depends on which one you get. What we found is we go ahead and do it. If you kind of do it, then ask permission later, beg for forgiveness kind of thing, show that you're being proactive. Yeah. Because they want you to replace the roof.
Yeah.
Call it what it is. They want to press you, and you know they don't want to tell people that there's other options because their lowest insurance exposure is a brand new roof, right?
Right.
So that's where they want to be.
Yeah.
And it's amazing how they come across, you know, the roofs that they've called out. Just one of the two today. I didn't see anything wrong with it.
Yeah.
And it's amazing what I don't know what drone they're looking through or what kind of. Someone else told me they're using artificial intelligence from a satellite image to determine this stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm not 100% sure how they're doing it. Sometimes I know there was an adjuster came out in person at a couple different homes. Because they're not just picking roofs, they're picking trees over top of houses.
Mm-hmm.
They're picking other issues where they see a potential claim and saying, hey, you know, we'd rather not have you.
Right.
So it's kind of crazy. I don't know what percentage they use that they know they're going to write off.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, the homeowner has to make some pretty big financial decisions. And either way, it's a sticky situation.
Mm-hmm.
Whether they go with RoofMax or they go with the roof replacement, it's still a financial obligation.
Yeah.
So either way, it's not great for the homeowner.
Right.
But at least we're an option that historically we're 80% less than roof replacement. So
wow.
it's an option, but but the roof has to qualify. So if the roof is too far gone, because people don't do maintenance on the roof the way they should. You know, they see the moss and algae up on the roof. They don't do anything about it.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean, we see homes like that all the time. I mean, I think that's and these are on the market. So I think that is a good point.
So I'm speaking of, you know, again, on the market, this is going to be an issue that's going to permeate into the real estate industry with sellers and buyers, because the seller is going to get to the point where they're going to have a hard time selling it, because if the buyer's homeowner's insurance guy comes out, they're going to flag it prior to settlement, or if they do it after, the buyer now is going to have a problem after settlement. So it really is a situation that they're not going to go away from. It's going to get worse and worse and worse. And I'm glad that we have a product that rejuvenates the asphalt. We actually can clean it as well. I'm also not just a RoofMax dealer. I'm also a dealer for a product called Roof Shampoo. When we combine the Roof Shampoo with the RoofMax, we call it shampoo and conditioner for your roof. So as a fat bald guy, I don't know too much about shampoo and conditioner, but I've been bald since I'm 26. But I did used to know what it was about. But it really does a great job. It really not only will it look like a new roof, it'll act like a new roof once we put the RoofMax treatment on there.
So, you know, let's say you know someone puts a roof on. What kind of regular maintenance should they be doing to? I mean, obviously your product's there to help, and I love that it's like an oil, and it's I mean, it's kind of, you know, it sounds like it's like fertilizer for your roof in a way. But what kind of maintenance should someone be doing to avoid this happening? Because I mean, you put the new roof on, these things are supposed to last 20, 30 years. Sounds like insurance companies are cutting that way short in some cases, depending on the roof, obviously. So what do you recommend?
Well, you know, it's funny. There's a lot of class action lawsuits against shingle manufacturers. The shingles are much thinner than they used to be, about a third less as thick than they used to be, and they're failing a lot faster.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the things that make them fail even faster is the moss and algae that we're talking about. So as a homeowner, there are some DIY things that you can get. One is a spray and forget. You can get from Home Depot. It goes into your hose, and you just squirt it up there, and you forget about it. There's an enzyme in there that just slowly eats that stuff away. But that's maintenance.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so. But how many people go up on the roof besides the moss and algae, go up on the roof and see if they have any missing shingles or see if they have any flashing issues? Nobody. No one thinks about going up and checking the roof for maintenance. But that's one of the things that if you want to put in a claim, an insurance claim, they're going to ask you when's the last time you did any roof maintenance.
Yeah.
The answer is probably going to be never.
I mean, do many people have somebody come out on like an annual basis to like take a look and make recommendations?
They should, and you know, annually or biannually, just like anything else. If you're going to have your HVAC guy come out and check out before you turn your system on, you know, you should have it checked out.
Good point.
So this is not any different. This is probably the biggest check that you're going to write if something goes wrong with it. More than your HVAC, you know, more than any appliance you're going to buy, is your roof. So why wouldn't you take care of it?
Yeah,
that's a really good point. So there's some maintenance things you can do. How long does your treatment take? I mean, someone runs into, you know, I mean, is this like a 1 day thing? Like, I mean, it's, I know you guys are pretty responsive, so I mean, that helps. I mean, what's the, you know, what's the turn time on this look like?
Well, we're actually, you know, we're pretty busy, but once we get out there on site, you know, and we do what's called a tune-up. So we're doing the maintenance that we're talking about. Loose shingles, nail pops, flashing issues. You know, you have the vent pipes that come out for your bathrooms. They have boots on there that not rust with the rubber, but they deteriorate.
The
crack.
sleeves, yeah. Yep.
And we replace those. So we're doing overall maintenance that most homeowners just don't do. 9 times out of 10, if there's a leak, it's coming from one of those issues, flashing, a vent boot, you know, or something else. We're trying to repair those ahead of time, then treat the roof. But really, the whole process, depending on the size of the roof, takes about an hour and a half.
Wow, that's fast. I mean, you look at that. It's, you know, it's almost like an obligation to get the word out about this, because if you don't, I mean, someone's looking at a, you know, $30,000 or $40,000 bill, depending on how big the roof is, versus you're talking 20% of that, which is pretty amazing.
Well, the average 2,000 square foot roof, so your average, say, just your average ranch house, say, you know, the little, you know, 3-bedroom, 2-bath ranch, you know, we'll call it 2,000 square feet. You know, Joe Bucking and Chalk is out there, between $6-7, you know, a square foot. Maybe he's got insurance, maybe he doesn't.
Mhm.
You know, so you're looking at $12,000 to $15,000 there, where we'd be somewhere in the $3,000-4,000 range.
Yeah.
And you know, the great thing is our warranty is 100% transferable. So in the real estate market, that's great. It makes the seller feel good, the buyer feel good. And the shingle manufacturers, when they put this you know, the 30-year shingle, 40-year shingle, they know the average homeowner moves every 7.5 years. So they don't worry about, oh, there's going to be claims.
Right.
And then if you look at those warranties, after 10 years, the cliff drops off, you know, as far as depreciation and what they
Right.
actually pay for. And if you don't do the maintenance that they're telling you to do, by the way, there is no warranty.
There is no. And then, so this extends, you know, by, you know, up to 5 years.
5 years.
Or so.
Yeah, and
And
ideally we come back in 5 years, do another inspection and do it again. So we can do the same roof up to 3 times.
Okay.
And it really is amazing. Just last week we had a homeowner that put 32 years ago, put the roof on, and we passed it. So we're looking for making sure there's some excessive granule loss. You know, the shingles already cracked and brittle, and soft wood. That one fit. That one was fine. It was great. But I've failed roofs that are 7-8 years old. A lot of times with this moss and algae, when that moss and algae is on there, it's just eating away the granules. And granule loss is one of the things that prevents us from treating a roof. So if that stuff's doing damage, get it off there.
So if you've been thinking about doing something with your roof, check out RoofMax.com. It's RoofMax.com. Dave, thanks for coming on. Super informative here. Great product to talk about, especially in today's insurance climate. RoofMax.com. That's it for this week's episode. You can follow Sarah on Instagram. She's at Ty_TyTime. That's TY_TYTIME. You can follow me at Tom Toole 3RD at Tom Toole 3rd. And we'll be back next week on Tool Time Real Estate Radio on WWDB 860 AM. That was awesome.
Thank you guys. That really was good. I thought, that sound all right?
yeah,
Right.
sound great.
I got that working for me.
Yeah. Oh my God, it was